Streaming. Hello, everybody. It's Jodi Franklin, and I'm once again so happy to have Chris Kresser live with us today. It's such an honor to have you on every time we've had you on here. You're a big reason why I got into functional medicine in the first place. I think I mentioned before, kind of following you forever, and I really appreciate everything that you do. And you always bring so much value to the group, so I really appreciate that as well. But today, if you stay on with us to the end, Chris is going to give you some swag. All of you participating live on Zoom today are going to have a chance to win some of this wonderful Adapt Natural swag. This is a Yeti cup. This is one of the things we're giving away today. Yeah, give us some hearts. Chris is wearing this sweatshirt. I actually have one too. I should have put it on today. Beautiful, nice quality sweatshirt, t-shirts. We got the actual supplements themselves. So stick with us. We're going to be giving those away. And also another gift you're going to get, and we're going to put this in the chat right now. And if you're joining us on Facebook, we'll mention it below. But for the next 24 hours, even if you've ordered before and used my coupon, you're going to get another chance to save 20% off Adapt Natural supplements for both new and repeat customers using the link that we're putting in now. Make sure you use that link. And also Jodi, Jodi, January. That's the code for 20% off these supplements. And they are phenomenal. I know Chris is such a stickler for ingredients and sourcing and making sure that it's the right form and the right amount of the nutrients to take. And he's done so much research, he really understands it. So also, another big benefit to being here today is that if you're a health coach or a practitioner, you can sign up to basically distribute these supplements as well if you'd like to provide them for your patients or clients. And even health coaches that you may not have been able to get an account with some of these premium supplement brands or full script, you can get an account with Adapt if you're a certified health coach. So you can use the link that we're also going to put in the chat today. I think Jules going to put it up there. You can sign up right away to become a distributor of these supplements. But I want to tell you a little bit about Chris. For those of you who don't know him, he is the co-founder of the California Center for Functional Medicine and the founder for Kresser Institute, which is a functional medicine school, and it is phenomenal. So if any of you practitioners are thinking about functional medicine training, definitely look into it. That's not for health coaches, only for practitioners, certified for medical practitioners. He is the host of the top-ranked podcast, Revolution Health Radio. This is one of my absolute favorite podcasts, so definitely subscribe to that. You will learn so much from him. He's the New York Times bestselling author of The Paleo Cure and Unconventional Medicine, and he's one of the most respected clinicians and educators in the fields of functional medicine and ancestral health. He's trained over 2,000 clinicians and health coaches from about 50 different countries with his unique approach. And he's named one of the top 100 most influential people in the health and fitness by greatest.com. And he's also appeared on Dr. Oz. He's appeared in The Atlantic, Time Magazine, NPR, Fox and Friends, and other national media outlets. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, Chris. I know you're going to talk to us today about the top supplements that are going to have a huge impact on your patients' and clients' health. And thank you so much for joining us.
Jodi, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with you and your audience.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. So did you want to go ahead and just tell us, like, talk, I think you're going to talk about nutrient density and a bunch of things. Do you want to go ahead and just dive right in?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, over my 15 plus year career, my perspective has always been, how can I help the greatest number of people? And so I started seeing patients individually, just one-on-one, like most clinicians, and quickly discovered that there was going to be a hard limit to the number of people I could help that way, and that I had a very long wait list, even very early in my practice, and that was frustrating to me because I knew I could help the people who were on the list, but I couldn't get to them. And I have my own personal health journey and story, and I know how hard it is to struggle with a complex chronic illness and not be able to find answers. So that's what led to me launching the ADAPT practitioner training program back in 2016. And we have since trained over 700 doctors and other licensed clinicians in over 30 countries. And that was, I'm really proud of that and happy that we've been able to do it. And it was also clear to me after a few years of doing that there's a certain a pretty large percentage of the population that will just cannot access functional medicine one-on-one care due to the expense, especially because it's not covered in the healthcare system. And so, I since then launched the Adapt Health Coach training program, and did some other things to try to expand access to this approach, but ultimately realized that the best way I could probably impact people's lives was to translate everything I'd learned in 15 years of treating thousands of patients and training thousands of healthcare practitioners and coaches into a line of high quality clinician grade, clinician formulated supplements that address the root causes of chronic disease, and not just disease, but help to actually optimize health and extend health span and longevity. So that was the birth of Adapt Naturals a year and a half ago. I mean, of course, there was many years before that preparing and planting the seeds, but we launched a year and a half ago. And one of my foundational premises for launching it and behind the brand in general is that humans need over 40 micronutrients to thrive. And according to the latest statistics, more than 90% of Americans are falling short on not just one, but several of those micronutrients. And so we have an epidemic of nutrient deficiency that is impacting every country in the world, every part of the world. It's one of the biggest myths about nutrient deficiency is it only impacts the developing world, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We have widespread and rampant nutrient deficiencies right here in the United States, the richest country in the world, and all other developed countries. And that's even more true if you define nutrient deficiencies as lacking the optimal amount of nutrition that we need to thrive, rather than just the amount of nutrients that we need to avoid acute deficiency conditions. And so one of my main goals with Adapt Naturals and the first 5 products that we launched, which are part of the Core Plus bundle that you mentioned earlier, Jodi, was to give people an easy way to restore optimal nutrient status in the midst of this crazy modern Western lifestyle that we're living today. In a perfect world, we would be able to meet all of our nutrient needs from food alone. And certainly that's what our ancestors did, our distant ancestors at least. But that's not the world that we're living in anymore, unfortunately. We have a decline in nutrients in soil due to a number of factors. Disrupted microbiome of the soil, industrial agriculture methods that have depleted nutrient levels in the soil, so that the animals that eat those plants, and then us, when we eat those plants, don't get the same level of nutrition that they would have gotten even just 50 years ago. There was one paper I read that had a statistic that's always stuck with me, which is that you'd have to eat 8 oranges today to get the same nutrition that our grandparents got from eating a single orange. So that's a profound change in just 2 generations. We're not talking about a long period of time. And there are other issues too, of course, like the increase in toxins like heavy metals, lead, cadmium, arsenic, mercury, pesticides and herbicides, things like glyphosate, chemicals like bisphenol A. These have become sadly ubiquitous in our environment, and they bind to nutrients, or put another way, nutrients bind to them, and in an effort to kind of block or prevent their absorption, or just because that's how the biochemistry works. And what that means is that we don't actually absorb those nutrients when they're bound to these toxins. Then you have
It's crazy, Chris, because I'll tell you, I just tested a client for environmental toxins, and she swears she doesn't use plastic at all. Her BPA was off the charts. It was
yeah,
crazy high. And, this is someone who doesn't drink from plastic bottles. She doesn't it's everywhere. It's in the drinking water. It's everywhere. It's really hard to avoid, right?
that's really the sad part of where we're at is, if you think even about like an organic farm, there's no force field between the organic farm and the conventional farm next door. There's going to be some communication of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, et cetera, between those environments, and that's true for all kinds of different toxins. So it's a growing problem, and of course we can take a lot of steps to protect ourselves and minimize our exposure to those things, but we can't avoid it completely. We have chronic disease now. 6 in 10 Americans have chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have multiple chronic diseases, and that's a double whammy for nutrient status, because on the one hand, having a chronic disease increases the demand for nutrients. When our bodies are under stress, they need more nutrition. And on the other hand, many chronic diseases decrease nutrient absorption. So it's not just gastrointestinal conditions that do that, but even obesity has been shown to reduce the absorption of many different nutrients. Vitamin D is a classic example. There are many studies that have shown that someone who's obese has to consume up to 10,000 IU of vitamin D per day just to maintain a normal vitamin D level, whereas someone who's lean without obesity might only need 2,000 IU, 3,000 IU to maintain their level. So, and that's just one example. There are many others. Medications, many common medications interfere with nutrient absorption. A classic example is metformin, which is a drug that's used to lower blood sugar. And that's been shown to reduce and deplete both B12 and folate. And that's a fairly well-known effect of metformin that most, many primary care doctors are now aware of, at least. But there are so many other medications that have impacts on many different nutrients that most doctors and patients are not aware of. And so
there are so many people on those PPIs, right? Omeprazole and Prilosec and all.
PPIs are a classic example.
Oh my gosh, they're taken like candy, right?
They were only ever approved for short-term use, but they've been used for decades now by many patients. And stomach acid is required for the absorption of many different nutrients, and B12 is one of the most important ones. And so it's another medication that's so common that reduces B12 absorption. And as people are getting older, they're more and more likely to be on a PPI, and then they start to develop, symptoms that might look like dementia or even Alzheimer's, but be B12 deficiency because of long-term PPI use or metformin or other medications. And or if it's not even that severe, they start to have memory issues and cognitive deficits and things like that, and they go to the doctor. And the doctor's like, you're just getting older. That's just how it goes. And to an extent, that's true, but it's how it goes because they're taking people who are getting older are more likely to be taking these medications or see a natural decline in stomach acid production or some combination of both. So I could go on, but the short way of summarizing this is the modern lifestyle that we live is antithetical to maintaining optimal nutrient status. And I saw in my 15 years of working with patients that even people who are really trying and paying a lot of attention to it, eating a nutrient-dense diet, these are people who are listening to the podcasts and reading the books and following the blogs and social media, like they're on top of it way more than the average American. They were still coming into my clinic and showing up with nutrient deficiencies. I test everybody who comes through the door, and I thought to myself, if these people have nutrient deficiencies, then imagine what it's like for the general population, who's not paying this much attention, who 60% of calories are coming from highly processed and refined foods that are virtually devoid of nutrients like flour, sugar, and industrial seed oils, that's the statistic now. 60% of calories come from those foods for most Americans. And so when I launched this line, I really thought, what is the one way that I could make the biggest impact on the greatest number of people in a safe and effective way, and this was it, restoring nutrient status. So that's really the fundamental premise of the Adopt Naturals line, and the driving motivation behind it. Jodi, I think you're still on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
There you go.
So you mentioned that B12 is a real issue. And I know for me, even with I had high levels of mercury toxicity, and that just eats up your B12. I know that is a really common nutrient deficiency. And one of the problems we see in over-the-counter supplements that you buy at Costco is that it's usually cyanocobalamin, and there's the wrong forms of these nutrients that don't really do any good for most people. Maybe you could tell us some of the things that, the supplements that are having the biggest impact on patients and clients' lives, and what they should look for and what they should do in terms of taking supplements.
Yeah, so of course I thought a lot about this before we launched, and there was a reason that we launched with 5 products instead of 1, because again, I was thinking from the perspective of what do most people need in order to, shore up their typical the nutrient shortcomings that are most common, and then also give themselves a little extra edge and buffer to be more resilient, and in the face of the challenges of the modern lifestyle that most of us frankly just can't avoid at this point. We can do our best to minimize them, again, like I said, but we're just living in this world. This is kind of what we have to deal with it, and we need to learn how to make lemonade from lemons, right? So the first obvious choice was a multi, because, so as I said, if we need 40 micronutrients and most people are falling short, then yes, we need more of those nutrients. And not coincidentally, the BioVail Multi has 41 micronutrients in it. And unlike most multis on the market, it's not just essential vitamins and minerals, although of course it does have those. It also contains phytonutrients, which we now know are essential to our health, things like bioflavonoids and carotenoids and lignans, and nutrients that we get from plant foods. And then it contains enzymes and amino acids that are also important to our health, like taurine, for example. So I wanted a kind of one-stop shop where people could really amplify their nutrient intake on top of a nutrient-dense diet. So of course, these supplements are designed to augment a nutrient-dense diet, not replace one. You can't eat, pizza and cheese doodles and drink big gulps and take these supplements and just expect that everything's going to turn out great. I mean, it'll be better than not taking the supplements, but this is, of course, designed to augment your nutrient-dense diet.
And I will
So,
also say, Chris, like
please.
those bioflavonoids are so critical for fighting things like cancer, and anti-aging is so huge. I think more people will sign up for you for that benefit than
Yeah,
even improving their health and everything else. But it's so important for the skin, and for the basically for long life, for longevity. But also the minerals. People don't think about minerals and how critical they are. And to Chris's point earlier with the topsoil erosion and everything like that, even if you're eating an organic diet, even if you're eating the top kind of top of the line kind of diet, even if it's all organic, you're probably not getting enough. I was shocked to see how low my nutrient levels were when I ran a micronutrient test years ago, because I thought I could do it all with food, and it just wasn't happening. So I really think it's critical. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
So we the other thing that differentiates BioVail Multi from a lot of other products on the market is as the name implies, use bioavailable, bioidentical, naturally occurring forms of nutrients. So an example of this would be all of the B vitamins are methylated or active forms. So we use methylfolate, 5-MTHF instead of folic acid. We use methylcobalamin, which is the active form, methylated form of B12, instead of cyanocobalamin, which you mentioned earlier, Jodi. We use R5P and P5P for riboflavin and peroxidine respectively, because they're the active forms. We use we have benfotiamine in addition to B1. Benfotiamine is an active form of B1 that provides a number of additional benefits. We have vitamin K2, both. We have a blend of MK4 and MK7 forms for optimal bone and cardiovascular health. Many multis don't contain K2, they just contain K1. We have bioavailable forms of minerals. You mentioned how important minerals are. A lot of minerals in standard multis are not very absorbable.
Right.
So we have chelated forms of buffered chelate forms of all of the minerals for maximum absorption. We have meaningful doses of all of these nutrients. So for vitamin D3, you would typically see like 400 IU in a multi, maybe 1,000. We have 3,000 IU because that's the dose that has been shown to really move the needle for most people and help maintain an optimal level of D3 in the blood. We have 450 milligrams of choline equivalents, so not choline directly, but choline sparing methyl donors and things that actually increase choline in the blood. We have 11 different phytonutrients, like I mentioned: broccoli, blueberry, elderberry, quercetin, bioflavonoids, and more. And then we have 200 milligrams of betaine hydrochloric acid, which many people will be familiar with for its ability to increase absorption of nutrients. So it's a nutrient that actually enhances absorption. So in addition to having all these bioavailable forms of nutrients, we have another nutrient that increases absorption of the nutrients in multi. And I think this is one reason why, if you look at the reviews, you'll see people saying things like, I've never been able to take other multis because, I just feel like I'm not absorbing the nutrients, or they make me feel sick, or, I get a stomach ache or whatever. You'll see reviews saying this is the best multi I've ever taken. I actually notice big results. I can tell that I'm absorbing it. It doesn't hurt my stomach. And so I'm very proud of the results that people are getting with this, and I consider it to be really one of our key foundational products for
It's
for all the
truly
reasons we talked about.
excellent, Chris. I mean, I was just talking to a client yesterday who, she had her 365 brand supplements. You think Whole Foods has got to be a good supplement, right? And it had all the crappy forms of vitamin B, all the artificial forms. And it had zinc oxide, which isn't absorbed at all, really. It had magnesium oxide, which basically can give you diarrhea and it doesn't get absorbed at all. And just like the wrong forms of everything, I think that so many people don't realize the benefit of choline and how it can help with liver health and detoxification, but also brain health. And things like molybdenum and manganese, these minerals that just aren't found in most multis. I mean, they're critical for methylation. They're critical for so many processes, even, histamine mediation and all kinds of things. So I just think people don't realize, and even some quercetin in there for the histamine piece. It's just really well done. I'm super impressed by it. I've been taking it and feel fantastic. So and the K2 having both the MK7 and MK4 is great. People don't realize that you need that to channel calcium into your bones and away from your arteries, right? I mean, people just take vitamin D indiscriminately without any K2, and it's actually kind of reckless. So I just love this. If you have clients or patients that are reluctant to take supplements and they just like, give me one thing that I should take, I just want to take one, this would be it, because it checks all the boxes. It's fantastic. So I hope you all decide to get an account with Chris's supplements and use this supplement for your clients and patients. It's really it'll be a game changer for so many of them.
Great. So we can move on to the next one in the bundle. So I spent quite a bit of time talking about nutrient density in the beginning of this webinar, and multivitamin is, of course, a foundational strategy for addressing that. But another way of thinking about that is, okay, what are the most nutrient dense foods we can eat, and how could we support people in getting more of those types of foods into their diet in a convenient way? And for anyone who's been following my work for any length of time, they can probably guess the answer to this question, or if they've been paying attention, this is organ meat. So a recent study last year, or actually 2022, by Ty Beal and Flaminia Ortenzi, some fantastic researchers who work for an NGO that's tasked with addressing malnutrition globally. They set out to answer the question, what are the most nutrient dense and bioavailable foods we can eat that will provide the biggest bang for the buck? Because they work in developing countries and places around the world where people are on very limited budgets, and they're trying to influence public health policy. So they assessed all common foods and ranked them according to their nutrient density. And they were looking primarily at essential vitamins and minerals like iron, B12, folate, zinc, magnesium that people are most commonly deficient in. And the question they were trying to answer was, how much of each food would you have to eat to meet 1/3 of the daily value of each of those nutrients? And so a lower score was better, because that meant you had to eat less of that food to reach that threshold. So it's more nutrient dense. And they ranked all of these foods. So I have a whole article on this we could link to if people want to get the full details at some point. But the long and the short of it is that 4 out of the top 7 foods were organ meats. So this is liver, spleen, kidney, and heart. And they didn't measure pancreas, but in private communication with Ty Beal, he said that was just because there's not a lot of available data for pancreas, but the data that is available suggests that it would have been probably up in that, certainly in the top 10 and probably in the top 8 or 9 foods had they been able to include it. So, and these differences were not small. So liver, the score was 11. The next closest food was another organ meat, spleen, at 62. And to put this in perspective, even beef, which is an incredibly nutrient dense food, was 275. And then when you start getting down to vegetables, that was almost 300. Healthy whole grains or beans were 667, and unrefined grain products was over 1,000. So wow. This gives us a clear indication of just how powerful nutrient dense organ meats are. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen all the Liver King, on social media and all the drama around that. And he was doing a lot of things not very well, but he was absolutely right about liver and its nutritional value. The problem is very few people like to eat liver. Mm-hmm. It has a very intense texture and taste. If you grew up with it and you acquired the taste for it, then awesome, lucky you. For most people, they did not, and many people actually find it repulsive. Or even if they can eat it, their family finds it repulsive, so it's not realistic for them to eat and include in their meals. So I wanted, and I've seen this over 15 years of treating patients, I really wanted to, I'm always telling people to eat organs, and they're always telling me I'm crazy. There's no way they're going to do that, even if it's going to help their health. And so I formulated this supplement, BioVail Organ. Again, not coincidentally, it has liver, heart, kidney, spleen, and pancreas, which are the 5 most nutrient dense organs. And it's got more organ material than any other organ supplement on the market. And it has a higher dose of liver, which is the most nutrient dense organ, than any other supplement on the market. And this is made from 100% grass-fed, pasture-raised animals that are never given antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. It's a very clean product, as you can see, with the only other ingredient is a gelatin capsule. So it's as close as you can possibly get to eating organs without eating them, because it's just freeze dried. The organs are harvested from the animals in a humane way, after they're slaughtered in a humane way, and then they're immediately frozen and then dried and put into the powders and put into capsules. So it's literally is eating organs. It's just eating them in freeze dried form in a capsule.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, so many people, I don't like to eat liver regularly. It doesn't taste very good. But even sometimes you'll get someone who's a vegetarian who is just, they're some of the sickest people. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't handle that kind of diet, and getting this in them can make a huge difference. It brings up their iron, it brings up um so their vitamin A, so many of the things that they're lacking, the zinc and all these other things in a natural way. I'm a huge fan of organ meats. I think this is a really great one and I haven't seen any that include all the different organs. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really fantastic.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be back in the early 20th century, it was well known and used in medicine. Actually, it was known as the anti-fatigue factor, and
Mhm.
doctors would use it in people who were really run down or exhausted or recovering from an injury or an illness or something like that. And I used it for patients in my practice that way, and it just fell out of favor. Around World War II, Americans started to shift to eating more lean muscle meats
Mhm.
and less organ meat, and that was a sort of secret weapon, so to speak, that was forgotten, but it's seen a big resurgence in the past few years, and I'm really glad for that because it's such an amazing nutrient dense food.
Yeah. And if
So
you look
that's
at all the
bio
indigenous tribes, that's what they go after first, right? When they kill the animal, they go after the organ meats
They
in it
would
first because
often
they
throw
know,
the muscle meat to the dogs and not
right?
even eat that at
Yeah.
all. So yes, that's absolutely true. And we've kind of gone off track eating boneless, skinless chicken breast and the absolute leanest cuts of meat. And so, since most people don't include this in their diet, it's really important to add it back in, because the organs are rich in nutrients that are not actually highly represented in lean muscle meats, and so they're very complementary and can help balance out a high intake of lean muscle meat. So that's bioavail organ.
Chris, before you go
Another
on,
one.
your staff
Mhm.
has informed me that we have a winner of your sweatshirt.
Oh,
Okay,
awesome.
so this is the
All
first
right.
one. Stay on with
Yay.
us because there's lots
Just
of other
like
stuff we're
mine.
giving away. But Karen Jimenez,
Yeah,
congratulations. You have won the Adapt Naturals sweatshirt. So we'll be sending that out to you. Make sure you get your information. I don't know if you want to send it to Jewel, or you can message her privately and get her, or
that's
Andrea,
awesome. I
and
pretty
we'll
much
get
live
that
in
to you.
this sweatshirt.
Okay.
It's so comfortable.
It's
Um,
really uncomfortable. It's awesome.
so yeah, another one I'll just talk briefly about, because it's so simple. It's magnesium, bioavail magnesium. Over 90% of people today don't get enough magnesium. We have some in the multi, but there was a study published in 2022 that suggests that people are falling between 2 and 400 milligrams a day short on magnesium, which is just crazy. So we used a modest dose in the multi, just to allow for individual variation, and then we have a standalone magnesium product because so many people need at least 300, 400, even 500 milligrams more than they're getting right now. And again, this is a buffered chelate. So as you can see there, magnesium bisglycinate chelate. It's 300 milligrams, and this is really important for just about everyone because there are over 700 enzymatic reactions in the body that require the presence of magnesium. So if we're falling short, pretty much everything is not going to work the way it should. But particularly for people who are dealing with gastrointestinal issues, stress, nervous system issues, musculoskeletal problems, like muscle and joint discomfort, brain related issues, cognitive health. It's really, magnesium is really a jack of all trades. And again, you'll see from the reviews that people are, people who have not been able to tolerate other forms of magnesium, like magnesium oxide that you mentioned earlier, Jodi, which tends to cause loose stools and diarrhea and GI discomfort and upset. are able to absorb and tolerate this very well. It helps with sleep and calm and soothing the nervous system. So this is again one of our more popular products, and it's included in the Core Plus bundle. The next product is you mentioned anti-aging before, and so this is BioVail E Plus. This one might require a little bit more introduction or explanation, because I found that even healthcare practitioners who are very well educated on most things related to nutrition are sometimes unfamiliar with the main ingredient of this product, which, as you might guess, is at least a form of vitamin E. It's not the common form that you are probably familiar with, though. So alpha tocopherol, or tocopherols in general, are a particular isomer of vitamin E. That's the one that is best known, that tends to be in most multivitamins and most standalone vitamin E supplements. And we absolutely need alpha tocopherol. We have 6 milligrams of it in the multi, and 89% of Americans are deficient in it. So, and it plays critical roles in the body. So I'm not saying that tocopherols are bad. However, studies have shown that high dose tocopherol supplementation, like in the 30 to 40 milligram per day range, which is a dose that was included in a lot of multis for a long time, and also in standalone vitamin E supplements, has been associated with an increase in the risk of prostate cancer and cardiovascular disease, particularly in men. And you can to some extent understand that, because it's a potent antioxidant, and if you do too much of it's often the case that too much of a good thing is not a good thing, right? Even water, if you drink too much water, you can cause problems. And so, in the 1990s, another form of vitamin E, another isomer of vitamin E called tocotrienol, was finally fully elucidated or discovered, distinguished from tocopherol. So researchers had been sort of dancing around this for a couple of decades before that, but it wasn't fully clear what was going on here until the 1990s, which is crazy, right? Like, you would think we had discovered all vitamins by the 1990s, but this was a new discovery. And since then, there's been just a huge interest and huge rush of research going into the impact of tocotrienols, because they turn out to be remarkable compounds. They're 40 to 50 times more potent as antioxidants than tocopherols, but they don't have the long-term risks that tocopherols do when taken as a supplement, which is really amazing. They have a number of other benefits that are distinct from tocopherols as well. They should not be considered as interchangeable. They're absolutely not. So tocotrienols, I'll just go through some of the main benefits, and as you'll see, they're all kind of anti-aging related in a way. So one is that they maintain healthy metabolic function. So this means they can help regulate blood sugar, triglycerides, blood pressure, accumulation of fat in the liver and abdominal area, and improve insulin sensitivity. So we know, 70% of Americans are overweight now, and over 40% are obese. So that this is obviously a major thing that impacts how we age and maintaining our health span. They help maintain healthy lipid levels and cardiovascular health. Heart disease, cardiovascular disease is still the #1 killer in the US and in the developed world. So if you want to live a long, healthy life, if you're concerned about anti-aging, you have to take steps to improve your your cardiovascular health and maintain healthy lipid levels. They promote healthy brain function. So vitamin E in general is the most potent antioxidant in the brain. And as I mentioned, tocotrienols are 40 to 50 times more potent as antioxidants than tocopherols. So you could understand why they have a pretty incredible impact on brain function. They reduce the pool of two proteins, FPP and GGPP, that have been shown to damage brain cells and promote progression of neurological and cognitive disorders. And there are also studies that show that tocotrienols can help improve mental clarity. They reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, which are at the root of all chronic modern disease. Those are kind of the two horsemen of the modern disease apocalypse, if you will, inflammation and oxidative stress. They're also the primary drivers of the aging process. So tocotrienols have been shown to inhibit the production of inflammatory compounds like nuclear factor kappa beta, tumor necrosis factor alpha, C-reactive protein, nitric oxide, and then the interleukins 2, 4, 6, and 8. So they have a pretty remarkable effect on the cellular health and physiology. They maintain healthy bones. I would say this is one of the most interesting lines of research on tocotrienols right now. They're being studied in menopausal women, perimenopausal women, and men for that matter. I think most people know that age-related frailty and falls and fractures are one of the major causes of death. There's a saying in medicine, break your hip, die of pneumonia, which describes what can happen to many elderly people when they have a bad fall. Then they end up prone in a hospital bed and fluid accumulates in their lungs. They develop pneumonia and they die from that. So it was really the fall that killed them, but they might be the cause of death might be classified as pneumonia. This is a very common scenario. So I've often told people that one of the most important things you can do to protect your health as you age is to maintain muscle mass and bone health, bone strength, because if you can prevent falls and fractures, then you're taking a huge step toward a much longer and healthier life. Not to mention just increased mobility and able to keep moving around and do all the things that you like to do as you get older. Another very last but certainly not least, when it comes to lifespan and health as we age, is reducing the risk of cancer. So tocotrienols have shown great potential against a wide range of cancers. They inhibit angiogenesis, VEGF, which is vascular endothelial growth factor, and apoptosis through the caspase-3 pathways. They reduce cancer cell proliferation and induce apoptosis, with the most malignant forms of cancer appearing to be the most sensitive to the actions of tocotrienols. So this is another huge area of research with tocotrienols is in that world, because of course with an aging population, cancer is quickly moving up the list in terms of the causes of death. Some people believe it will become the #1 cause of death in the not too distant future. So yeah, tocotrienols are sort of like the secret weapon in the Core Plus bundle that many people have not heard about, but it turns out that they're an incredible anti-aging tool. And again, if you look at the reviews for this, you see people expressing, in many cases, some surprise at how big of a difference that this little tiny red gel cap has made in their life, because it is just a little teeny gel cap about that big that you take once a day. So it's very potent.
That's great. Chris, I just want to also mention, is this annatto? Is it made from annatto?
It's made from annatto. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more we could say about this, but one thing, and thanks for asking that, Jodi, is many tocotrienol supplements also contain tocopherols, and that's not a good idea, because higher doses of tocopherols, like 20 or 30 milligrams per day, will actually interfere with the actions of tocotrienols. That doesn't happen with the amount that you get from food or with the 6 milligrams that's in BioAvail Multi, but it would happen at higher doses. And the annatto plant, as you alluded to, is the only known source of pure, pretty much 100% delta and gamma tocotrienols with no tocopherols, whereas rice or palm or other sources of tocotrienols also contain significant amounts of tocopherol.
Amazing. And it's amazing because my sister's oncologist told her to stay away from vitamin E. So he didn't know the differentiation between the two.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention also those of you.
Well, at least he knew that high dose of tocopherol can be problematic. I would say a lot of oncologists don't know that either. So he's one step ahead of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the those of you who do organic acids testing, you find that 8-OHDG marker that's high, it's just showing crazy amounts of inflammation. That actually, the annatto-tocotrienols actually bring that marker down. It brings the inflammation down. It's crazy important to take this. So, and especially those of us who want to live to be 120, this is an important one for anti-aging and keeping inflammation down. So I love it. Thanks, Chris. And what
Great.
else?
So I've
Oh,
got one
one
more.
more t-shirt. Sorry.
Oh, good.
T-shirt, one more.
Oh, I love that one
You guessed
too.
it.
That's
Yeah, I
one of
love
my
the color.
favorites. Yeah.
So the t-shirt is going to Cheryl Henkin Keeley. Thanks for joining us today, Cheryl. That's
Okay,
going to be
let's
coming your
see.
way.
I
Just
have the
give us your
I have the
address
brown
message.
version of that on right now.
Oh, nice.
I just live in this
I love that
stuff,
color.
not mostly because it's so soft. Like I'm actually not the kind of person who likes to just wear my own swag around all the time, especially when it has my name on it. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I actually wear this stuff because it's so soft and
It is
comfortable.
really
When
soft.
when
It's
we made the merch, that was my number one requirement. I was like, it has to be super cozy and comfortable, and of course stylish. But yeah, I'm really proud of how the merch came out.
so Cheryl, just
Um,
message Andrea or Jewel privately, and we'll give them your address. We'll get that to you.
Fun,
Okay, so
great.
go ahead. Next, what's the next?
Okay. So next is so this kind of spans two categories. It's one is replacing nutrients that a lot of people don't get enough of, which is the whole premise, of course, of the Core Plus bundle. But it's also fits in just like BioVale E Plus does, is like giving that little extra edge that most of us don't eat annatto plants. So, tocotrienols are not really found in high amounts in many foods. So, in the case of BioVale E Plus, we're not actually trying to replace something that you would be getting a lot in your diet. We're giving you a nutritional leg up and a kind of unfair advantage with something that's natural and safe and highly effective. And the mushroom BioVale Myco is kind of in between that and then the other supplements in the Core Plus bundle that are replacing nutrients that we would normally be getting in our diet. And the reason I say that is it contains a blend of 8 mushrooms. So these are ones that probably most people listening to this have heard of by now. So we have reishi, lion's mane, chaga, cordyceps, turkey tail, tremella, shiitake, and maitake. So these are all the heavy hitters when it comes to health benefits. And certainly shiitake, maitake, lion's mane are good to eat, and I would imagine some people, particularly with shiitake, have eaten them. They taste good. They have a great texture. They can be added to foods. But other mushrooms like turkey tail, chaga, cordyceps, and reishi are not good to eat. They're tough, bitter, chewy, or just downright gross in the case of cordyceps, if you understand what it is. But they're incredibly medicinal, and they are really rich in terpenoids and beta glucans, which I'll come back to that in a minute, why that's important. And these compounds can really give us an unfair advantage when it comes to gut health, immune health, brain health, cognitive function, and what I call calm energy, which sounds like an oxymoron, but for people who've taken BioVale Myco or mushrooms in general, they understand what I mean. Most, like coffee, caffeine, and other kind of caffeine-based stimulants, produce a very rapid spike in energy and then followed by a big crash, which most people have experienced before, right? With BioVale Myco and mushrooms, instead, what you get is a slower build, but a sustained level of energy throughout the day that then gradually tapers off. And at the same time, you feel more relaxed and calm and resilient, which is a pretty incredible thing, actually, when you think of it, that something could both stimulate energy and promote mental clarity and just sharpness and aliveness, but at the same time help you feel more resourced and calm and resilient in the face of stress. And that's how people describe BioVale Myco in the reviews. That's how I would describe it. And the key difference is, this gets a little geeky, but I have to explain it because it's really important for people to understand if they're evaluating a mushroom supplement, whether it's ours or any others. Mushrooms are fungus, and fungal organisms have a life cycle. And part of the mushroom, the what we call mushrooms, if you think of what a mushroom typically looks like, a stem and a bulb at the top, that is what's known as a fruiting body in the mycology world. And that's sort of the end stage of the fungal life cycle before it starts over again. An earlier stage in that cycle is mycelium. So these are the branch-like thread or filament structures that if you were to go into a forest and dig underground, you would see a whole network of this mycelium underground. And mycelium is amazing. I mean, this is what is thought to, mycelium are thought to transmit the communication or the messages amongst in this kind of network, almost brain-like fashion in a forest. If you've read any of Paul Stamets' work or watched any documentaries on mushrooms, it's incredible. However, mycelium does not have the same health benefits as the mushroom fruiting bodies because they don't have the same concentration of beta glucans and terpenes and other nutrients that we know provide the benefits of mushrooms. And here is the dirty little secret in the mushroom supplement industry. The FDA does not require labeling separately, mycelium or mushroom separately. So a company could sell a mycelium supplement and call it a mushroom, and you as a consumer would have no way of knowing that just from the label. That will change probably. There's actually a active petition right now to the FDA to be more specific in labeling and require companies to disclose whether it's a fruiting body or mycelium. And I think that will pass. That happened in the botanical world before, where now they often have to say whether it's the root or the leaf or the flowering part of the plant, because they all have different medicinal value and different impact. And that's true in the case of mushrooms. So that's one big difference. We use 100% fruiting bodies, which are what all of the studies on the benefits of mushrooms have been done on fruiting bodies. So you can be confident that you're getting the same benefits that you've read about in the research literature. And then one of the other big differences is that our formula is 100% organic. So all of the mushrooms are sourced are 100% organic. They're grown outdoors and on natural substrates like submerged logs, whereas a lot of the mycelium is grown inside in a warehouse on sorghum or other cereal grains or inside of a laboratory. So I'm really proud of the sourcing we did for this. We worked hard to put this formula together. And then the last thing I would point out is that we have 3 8-to-1 extracts in the formula: chaga, cordyceps, and reishi. That ratio expresses how concentrated and potent it is. So 1-to-1 extracts are better for some mushrooms extracted with water and alcohol because you get higher beta glucan content. Whereas with other mushrooms like chaga, cordyceps, and reishi, an 8-to-1 extract is better and will be more potent. So even though you see that there's a lower dose of those three, it's actually much more potent than other brands because we have a higher concentration of the extracts for those 3 mushrooms. So those 5 supplements comprise the Core Plus bundle. I do want to say one more thing about that and about the brand that I'm very proud of myself, because I'm a lifelong surfer and outdoor activity enthusiast, skier. I just took up whitewater kayaking this year, which has been really fun. Yeah, you got your ski sweatshirt. I'm a backpacker, wilderness, outdoor. I've gone on long, rafting trips and river trips. I love spending time outside, and I care deeply about the environment. And that's why we launched with glass bottles rather than plastic. But we recently made a huge shift. I don't know. Do you have any of the pouches yet, Jodi?
I don't have the pouches yet, but I saw that.
Okay.
That looked, yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had. I mean, I do have one in the other room, but we switched to 100% compostable pouches. Maybe you could pull up one of the product pages and show it on. So these pouches are made from plant fibers, and you can literally go out and put it in your compost bin in your backyard, and it will it's not only biodegradable, it's 100% compostable in both industrial and home compost systems. So we are removing or preventing over 100,000 plastic bottles from entering landfills or the ocean every year. These bags are printed with 100% compostable and biodegradable ink, plant-based inks. And we're also dramatically reducing energy costs through shipping because they're far lighter to ship than glass bottles. For people who still prefer storing in glass, not to worry. We have beautifully designed glass storage bottles that you can purchase for a very low price, just a few bucks, and you only have to buy them once. Then you can, when you get the supplements in the pouches, you can just pour each month. You can just pour them into the glass storage bottle and store them that way. So I'm very proud of this. It's something that took a long time to source because there are, as you can imagine, not very many of these material suppliers out there. And of course, it costs us more money, but it's something that's absolutely worth doing. And we're one of the only supplement brands that I know of at our scale that is using 100% compostable packaging. So we have virtually no plastic in our supply chain at this point, which is very exciting to me.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love it. That's really great because there is so much with the shipping, with all the waste and the plastic and the everything, even, having a lightweight box is a good thing for the environment too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Couple
I've been
more
on
winners.
boats, Jodi, in the middle of the ocean,
Oh, it's awful.
in the South Pacific or in the Maldives, where I've seen those enormous, 3 square kilometer things of plastic, and it's one of the most heartbreaking things that I've ever seen in my life. So I'm definitely
Yeah, and
proud and excited that we've been able to, play some small role in reducing the amount of plastic that gets
that's
into the
fabulous.
ocean.
And not only that, but the fish wind up eating and getting these
That's right.
microplastics in
That's
them.
right.
It's making it so we can't even eat our fish. I mean, it's crazy. So
Yes.
I'm glad you're doing that. That's really responsible and awesome of you, of course. But I want to give two more things away. The Myco that we just talked about is for
Yay.
Besan Ange. And we also have the multi for Stephanie Harris. So
All
congratulations
right,
to you guys for
Stephanie.
that. I know we're going to give away some more, but anything else you wanted to mention before we
Oh,
go
wow.
on?
Well, we have two amazing new products, relatively new. Omega Plus was mid-year last year, and then Colostrum Plus just came out in December. And these have actually become two of our best-selling products pretty quickly for good reason. Omega Plus is the first and only product that contains highly ultra pure fish oil, curcumin, and black seed oil in their most bioavailable forms. So those are three all-star nutrients that you usually have to buy separately that you can get in one formula. Just incredible formula for musculoskeletal health, any kind of muscle, joint discomfort, recovery, performance, brain health, of course. As many people know, those are superstar nutrients for brain and cognitive health, skin, hair, and nails. Again, anti-aging supplement, huge anti-aging supplement here.
I love that. And that black cumin seed, the Nigella sativa, that stuff tastes nasty. So this is awesome that it comes in. It
Yeah,
tastes like coal tar or something, but
it does.
this is great
But
that it comes in.
it's so amazing. Like the
It's
research
so
on
good for
that
you.
is incredible. All of the benefits. It's really, I think it's going to be the next curcumin. In the sense that now I think most people have heard of the incredible benefits of curcumin. 10, 15 years ago, us healthcare practitioners knew about it, but most people didn't. I think black seed oil is the next ingredient to rightfully so to take that crown from curcumin. And then BioVail Colostrum Plus is also another 3-in-1 product. It's the only product on the market that contains colostrum, lactoferrin, and beta glucan in one product. And this is a gut immune axis supplement. So it powerfully supports the gut microbiome and protects the integrity of the intestinal barrier. And I think everybody watching this webinar knows how important those two things are at this point. We know that you know, disrupted gut microbiome and leaky gut are connected to virtually every modern chronic disease that you can think of. And so anything we can do to protect the gut and repair and seal the gut barrier is absolutely critical. The colostrum is again sourced from 100% pasture-raised grass-fed cows, small family farms across the U.S. It's cold processed to protect the fragile proteins that can be denatured by heat. And then we have beta glucan, which is a unique form of soluble fiber that's a biological response modifier that primes and trains the immune system to more efficiently and quickly recognize threats and respond to them. I mentioned beta glucan with BioVale Myco, the mushroom formula, because mushrooms are the other main source of beta glucan in the diet. So if you take mushrooms and colostrum or beta glucan in the colostrum plus together, it's absolutely supercharging your immune system. We've talked to many customers who've been taking myco and colostrum plus together this season, and they say like their incidence of colds and flus and other viral infection has plummeted. You know, like their entire family is getting sick and they're able to stay well. The last ingredient is lactoferrin, which is a naturally occurring component in colostrum and some dairy products, which is anti-inflammatory and also has a lot of amazing impacts on the gut. So maybe we'll do another webinar in the future where we can go into more detail on those two products, because they're really special and they really kind of augment and add to the benefits of the Core Plus bundle.
That's so great. I love it. But you've really covered the most important supplements in your line. And I know you plan on coming up with more supplements as well. But those of you thinking about it, sign up for an account so that you can offer this to your patients and clients, and you'll get 25+% commission on every sale. So that's a great thing. And you're also offering the best quality supplements to people out there. And those of you who just want to try it, use that coupon. Was it January Jodi or Jodi January? I have to look at it. We have one more winner. My friend, my good buddy, Heather Slusher,
Oh, yay.
as nurse practitioner, has won the Adapt Naturals hat. So we'll get that out to you, Heather. Congratulations.
Love
We can wear
that.
ours together when I see you
Yeah.
at the retreat. So let me just see, there's a whole bunch of questions, but I'm afraid we're out of time. So maybe some of you could put your questions go on the Facebook group or message me with them, and I'll get them out to Chris.
Yeah, and if
or
people have
Chris's staff,
product
and he can
specific
answer.
questions, they can always send them to support@adaptnaturals.com. We have product
Mhm.
specialists and great customer support staff ready to answer any specific questions about products that folks have too.
Right, great. And in the grass, it's organic grass-fed organ meat, organs on the organ.
The organs are not certified organic, but they're from
The source.
basically yeah, you know how in many cases small family farms can't afford to pursue the organic certification because it's become cost prohibitive in many cases. And so, but they are, that's why we say made, you know, without pesticides, GMOs, you know, antibiotics, hormones, etc. So it's essentially organic, but not certified organic.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Angie, I forgot to mention one more winner.
Yeah, the Yeti. You can't forget
The
that.
grand prize goes to
Yeah,
Angie Tazio. So congratulations, and thank you all for joining us today. Chris, you're such a wealth of knowledge. I swear he eats research papers for breakfast, this guy, and just knows so much, so knowledgeable, and honestly, just such a wealth of information every time you come on. So we really appreciate you joining us today. And it's so great that you're offering these supplements, because the formulations you put together are really a grand slam home run. I mean, they're just amazing. I'm taking them myself. I'm enjoying them and feeling really good on them. Actually, I know I've joined a gym that has a lot more high intensity workouts, which used to tank me with my adrenals, and I'm feeling better now. So it's some, maybe it's a combination of some of the things that I'm taking, but I'm feeling really good on them. So thank you for making such a great line.
Yeah, you're
And thank you
welcome.
for
You're
joining us.
welcome. We've
Been
got
honored
2
to
new
have you
products
on.
coming out this year too that I'm really excited about. I can't talk about them yet, but they'll be coming in April and October.
Oh, we won't
roughly.
tell anyone. You can.
And and I want to thank everyone for being here and for being out there helping others to recover their health and live their dreams. That's what it's all about. That's what gets me up in the morning. And just thanks for everyone for doing that work.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of love on the chat. So thank you, Chris. Take care,
Thank you,
everybody.
Jodi. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye, everyone.